Hi, Jonathan Lombard again. Welcome to Leader Connect episode 2. We have a few things to cover, and again, like always, we're going to try to be in the 10 to 15 minute range so we don't bore you to death. But there's just a few things for you as leaders of Connect groups for you to know and understand. First of all, just wanted to let you know everything I'm hearing during the first week of Connect groups is that everything's going well, that the people are enjoying your groups, that you're enjoying your groups, that numbers are starting to come in. We're looking, as far as our average Sunday morning attendance of adults, right now we're probably in the about the 70% mark of our adults involved in Connect groups, and I'd like to get that into the 80 to 90% range. And so hey, that's a good start, guys, and you guys are doing an incredible job. Number one, I wanted to kind of just reiterate the covenant sheet, and again, that was a front and back part. The front kind of explains a little bit of what the group, how the format and what the group's about, and gives a place for there to be the date that they're committing to from session 1 all the way to the 10th week, leaders' names and phone numbers, and hosts' names and phone numbers and things. And then on the back there's a place where you can have people sign the covenant. And what I did in my group is I handed out a covenant to each person so they could look at it and read it over, but then we have one master copy, and on that master copy we're going to have that be the one that people sign their names. They can sign their names right away, or they can wait as late as the 4th week, but by the 4th week, on or before the 4th week, I'd like to have the names and for them to sign that covenant and for that to be turned into me. Some people, they don't like signing on the dotted line and all of that stuff, and it seems weird and everything. But there's a big deal in being committed to something and being committed to a group. And this is more than just like making sure you're attending and trying to be legalistic and hold somebody to a commitment. But it's really a sign of saying, hey, I'm going to run with you guys for 10 weeks. I'm committed to this group and building relationship. And you know what? No one's going to go to jail if they miss a week. And I mean, they could sign a name and break a covenant. But there's something about when you put your name on something, there's more of a chance that you're going to be like, you know what? I said I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. It makes it real now. Instead of kind of this wishy-washy commitment. Yeah, I'm going to show up, Pastor. I'm going to be there at the group. Yeah. And then they don't show up. But when they put their name down saying, you know what, I'm putting my name on this, I'm going to be a part of this for 10 weeks, there's a sense of ownership over it and seriousness to it. And so I think you're going to find there being a little bit more of a commitment to your group when those in your group say, yeah, I'm going to sign that commitment. So I really encourage you to do that. That's my ask. That's my big ask as a leader, as the one that's leading this Connect group ministry, that you have people in your group sign the covenant. So there you go. Another thing coming in, by this time you've probably finished your first week of Connect groups. So we're heading into our second week. A couple of just things to be aware of. First of all, make sure that your host isn't the only one preparing the snacks and the refreshments. You're going to want there to be some sort of a sign-up sheet. So that people can say, hey, I'm going to bring snacks on week 3, or I'm going to bring snacks on week 5, or whatever. Spread the load out. And depending on the size of your group, you may be able to get a lot of people to sign up, but you don't want the whole load of that, especially financially, but even the time it takes to either go and buy snacks or make snacks. You want to spread that out a little bit. And then the only other thing, as far as just some things that I noticed in my first week, I don't know what everybody's housing situation looks like, but their parking could be an issue. And so you want, maybe in your first meeting, but definitely by your second meeting, it'd be good to let everybody know where it's okay to park. Maybe they're allowed to park in your driveway, but people a lot of times won't park in the driveway because they don't know if they're supposed to or not. So if it's okay with you that they park in your driveway, just make sure they know that. And if there's other places that are available, make sure that all the parking options are known to your group. So that's just a couple logistic things. You guys probably already had a good sharing time in your first group. I encourage you to have another sharing time. In fact, in the format of our Connect groups, we want to start out with a good sharing portion, and then it'll end up being kind of that study the Word portion together and discussion around the Word, and then you'll have the prayer time and the pulling on heaven and experiencing His presence time of your group. Kind of those three main areas. And so you want to go into another sharing time. You may not have gotten to all 10 questions on your getting to know me questions. Maybe you didn't even use these. You don't have to. It's just a resource for you if you'd like. But if you didn't get to all 10, maybe pull a few others out and use some of those in your sharing time. Maybe come up with a few different ones on your own. You can call me if you're having trouble with that. But have a sharing time, and in and around your sharing time, something you can do this week, especially if you have people that return for the second week, is do kind of the highs and lows. What was the best thing that happened this week, and what was the worst thing? And this also may be an area where you're able to find current like prayer requests and be able to go after some things like that. So highs and lows are good. And highs and lows, that's probably something that you're going to want to have a part of your sharing time every week. Eventually the sharing time may revolve more around the study, like how does this question apply to your life? How does this place in Scripture, show me where this shows up in your life right now? And so you may have a little bit of sharing time that kind of marries with the study of the Word and the discussion and all that. But I would say at the very least each week, go around and talk about the highs and the lows and just getting to know each other, and more than just getting to know each other as far as their past and how did they end up here, but even just how they function in a day-to-day week, and what are the joys that we can rejoice with them on, and what are the hard places that we need to be in prayer and just kind of intentionally loving them through that time. And so the sharing time, that's a pretty important aspect. We're going into, let me get my notes here. We're going into a sermon series. Pastor Greg is going to launch it this Sunday, and it's called Face to Face Divine Encounters. And I just wanted to get that date for you. This Sunday, the 21st. And so we're going to be in this. I believe this is going to be a 10-week series. It might be less. It might be but it's going to be right about that. It's going to be a lengthy series, and so it's going to be all about. There's different people in the Bible that had encounters with Jesus, had encounters with God, with the Holy Spirit, and we want to kind of examine their life and what was it like. And so what you're going to find is in the church bulletin this week, we're going to have a sermon note page with some points. This week, Pastor's going to be talking about the Apostle John and his journey with Jesus. The main point in the series is God wants us to have daily, face-to-face, divine encounters with Him. And so we're going to talk about how John had a revelation of Jesus, John had growing revelation of Jesus, and John had a revelation of himself in Jesus. And you're going to be able to break that down. You'll understand that more Sunday. So there's an importance on you either being here Sunday or getting the audio of the message so that you know what's going on by the time your group starts this next week. And so there's that. That's going to be the sermon notes for them to take notes on. And then we have a one sheet front and back This is the study guide. This will be out at the greeters table, and you'll be able to grab one. Anybody in your group will be able to grab one. And this will be kind of for them to be able to take home and go a little bit deeper, but it will also be that supplement kind of for your discussion. It'll start out, it'll repeat the focus of the message. Like I just said, God wants us to have daily, face-to-face, divine encounters with Him. There'll be a portion to read. And these 3 paragraphs kind of reiterate a little bit of the 3 points of Pastor Greg's message. And then there'll be some scriptures that they could look up and that kind of go along with those paragraphs. When they flip it over to the other side, this will kind of be a guideline for your guys' discussion in your Connect group. This one has 5 different questions. There's a few scriptures in there. It kind of takes it home. It applies the message to our daily life. This is kind of the application. A lot of times you find that sermons are kind of more theoretical in nature, and then when you get into a small group, then you can kind of break it down into how does this apply to my everyday life? And so this will be kind of the application of the sermon message. Then there's a section here that just challenges them. It's optional, but it challenges them to read the entire Gospel of John during the week. Especially those that don't have a devotional life. This may be a place where you can encourage those in your group. Hey, you know what? Read John this week, and it'll give them something for them to encounter the Lord on their own in their daily walk with God. And then we're gonna again the format. The last section of your Connect group is that prayer section, and there's multiple ways you can go about this, but we're really, it's not a secret that we're a presence-based church, and so we want to provide opportunity for there to be encounters with the Lord, even in our Connect groups. I've said it before, presence-based people create presence-based friendships, and which create presence-based groups. And so we want that. Well, one aspect of that is this prayer section, and I'm just going to read this. This is on that sheet. But my encouragement here is this. Take time to listen to the Lord and to become aware of His presence. Write down or share what you've heard or felt. If time allows, take time to pray for each other, inviting the presence of God to impact each individual. You may choose to gently lay your hand on someone's shoulder, if they're willing, while you're praying and releasing God's presence. And so just a suggestion, do you have to do that? No, but do something to respond to this. Especially, this is a perfect series when we're talking about face-to-face encounters with God. Well then, we talked about it, now let's do it. Let's provide an opportunity for them to encounter the presence of the Lord. So there's that. And then let me just give you a leadership tip of the week, kind of 2. First of all, just in the area of running your meeting, obviously there's a little bit of preparation. You wouldn't have signed up to be a leader if there wasn't any type of responsibility on you. Hence leadership, right? I love the John Maxwell quote that says, if you're a leader and if you think you're a leader and no one's following you, then you're just out for a walk. So obviously we picked you because we felt like people would follow you. And part of that, there's a little bit of preparation. Make sure you've heard the message. If you can't make it on a Sunday, at least get the audio and listen to the message so that you have a grasp of that. I would encourage you to go over the study guide yourself. Even look up some of those scriptures on your own. Maybe there's weeks where you're way busy and you don't have time, but the more you kind of are familiar with this, then you look like you're prepared. You're kind of a half a step ahead of everybody else. Some people will show up in your group and they won't have even looked at the sheet all week, and that's fine. In fact, you may want to have extra sheets like these available. We'll have them available to download off the website. You can pick them up at the greeters table. So you may want to have some of those. We can email them to you if you'd like. But take a few minutes with this. Take 10 or 15 minutes with the study guide, and then as well listen to the audio if you don't make it on Sunday. The other thing is be real flexible. We have a general kind of outline and structure for your group. But, things happen. You may have in your sharing time where somebody shares something real personal and it's not appropriate to just move on past it real fast. Maybe you need to take some time there. The most important thing in these connect groups is not plowing through a bunch of information, like we've said. The most important thing is developing the friendships and the relationships, and so just pay attention to the flow of the night. And it may be that you have to take a little bit extra time in one area and a little bit less time in another. There may even be a week where you have to skip a whole area altogether, and we just give you the right to make judgment calls on that. But pay attention, be flexible in the moment when there are things going on, especially with the people in your group. Be careful of kind of tangents and transitions between areas. You're gonna have people that want to take over the group, and it just is what it is. They're real talkative. They'll take one question and go on forever. And so you'll want to figure out how to sneak in there and redirect, and in fact, if they won't stop, and you'll be able to tell how long it's going. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever, and you're just like, hey, I really, in fact, you might have to interrupt them and just say, I appreciate, all that you have to say. It's so valuable, so powerful. Just validate them, but just say, hey, can we kind of sum that up a little bit? I just want to make sure everybody in the group gets to share as well. And so be careful of that. And even for yourself, be careful that you don't go off on too many tangents. You may be a talker, like me, right? I love the quote that says, there's two types of people in this world. There are those that talk when they have something to say, and then there are those that talk until they have something to say. So maybe see which category you fall into. Which one do you think I fall into? Right, yeah. So just know that about yourself. Be careful how much you monopolize the time in talking as well. And then I kind of just touched on this a little bit just now, but I want to kind of talk to you about the EGRs. The EGRs. In other words, the extra grace required people. Our groups are made up of all kinds of people, and some people socially are very very comfortable, and some people are a little bit more awkward, and then there's everybody in between. And the thing is we want everybody to be a part of these groups. We don't want to exclude people, and it just may happen that you have somebody that needs a little bit extra grace that pops into your group. And so you want to be sensitive to that, but you also want to be careful. How does this affect group dynamics? Are they going to monopolize the time, or is all the attention going to be on them and all this stuff? And you don't want to shun them, you don't want to be rude, but you want to kind of live in that tension between ministering to their needs, but also ministering to the needs of the rest of the group. And there are some people that could derail the whole group, and you get too many of those times, and you'll have people that decide they don't want to come back. And so I know that most people don't like to confront, and they don't like the conflict and all that type of stuff. But as a leader, you may have to kind of pay attention to that. There may be an opportunity where you need to pull somebody aside privately, maybe after a meeting or before a meeting or at church, and just say, hey, again, validate them. I appreciate what you bring to the table. I appreciate this. But for the sake of the whole group, we want to give other people a chance to talk. Maybe it was something else. Maybe you need to correct them a little bit in how they talk about people. Maybe they were rude. Maybe they're abrasive. Maybe they're I don't know. There could be all kinds of issues. And if there's specific ones that you're wondering about, I'd like you to talk to me. Either call me, talk to me in person, email me, text me, and we can talk about specific situations. But you'll want to be able to lead that group, and there may be some extra grace required people that you need to pastor as well. So there you go. And the last thing is personal contact, personal contact, personal contact. And I know some of you love being on the phone. Some of you love walking up to people at church. Some of you may, either it's a time issue, or maybe you just don't like being on the phone, or maybe you don't like talking to someone that you haven't met or you don't know very well, whatever it is. But just know this, if you want your group to grow, it's going to take you getting on the phone or talking to someone in person and saying, hey, I invite you to come. You know, we put announcements in bulletins. We put a PowerPoint slide up in the church. We send out emails and all this. But at the end of the day, people want to be invited. You know, everybody knows where all the groups are meeting. They have all the information. They could just show up if they want to, but they want to be invited. And there's some people that will just never ever show up until you pick up the phone or track them down at church or whatever. And so I wanted to give you that piece of advice. We love you guys, and you're doing an incredible job. Keep up the good work. If you need me for anything, I'm available. I just want to be a resource to you. Hey, God bless. We'll talk to you soon.